Welcome back to Mastering SAT Grammar, the podcast where we help you ace the language portion of the SAT.
Hey everyone. I'm Taylor, and today we're diving deep into grammar and punctuation essentials.
Exactly. We're covering the conventions of standard English that you'll need to know for the SAT.
So grab a notebook and let's get started.
First up, let's talk about incorrect punctuation. Apostrophes and commas can be tricky, right?
Oh yeah, they always trip me up.
You're not alone. For instance, the SAT might test whether a comma is extra, missing, or misplaced in a sentence.
Right, and let's not forget about colons and semicolons. They love to mix those up.
Exactly. Knowing when to use each punctuation mark is key. Next, let's discuss incomplete sentences. Ever heard of run-on sentences and fragments?
Oh, definitely.
They're common pitfalls.
A run-on is when you have two subjects and two verbs improperly joined, right?
Exactly. And a fragment is missing a subject or a verb. Like saying, the dog.
Got it. So we need to make sure each sentence is complete and properly connected.
Exactly. Now, let's move on to misplaced modifiers.
Misplaced modifiers, that's a mouthful.
It is, but it's simpler than it sounds. A modifier should be near the noun it describes. For example, laughing loudly, the skier went off the trail.
Makes sense.
But if you say, the skier went off the trail, laughing loudly, it sounds like the trail is laughing.
And trails don't laugh unless we're in a fantasy novel.
Exactly. So keep those modifiers close to the words they're modifying. Now, let's tackle wrong homophones.
Oh yeah, like there, and there.
Exactly. The SAT loves to test common homophones.
Like right and right, or then and then.
You've got it.
Awesome.
So always double check that you're using the correct word in context.
Will do. Now, what about wrong tense verbs?
Great question. It's important that the verb tense matches the time frame of the action. Also, watch out for subject-verb agreement, especially in sentences with parallel structure.
Parallel structure, that sounds important.
It really is. Parallel structure means that elements in a sentence follow the same grammatical form.
Like she likes running, swimming, and biking.
Exactly. All verbs are in the ing form. The SAT wants you to spot inconsistencies.
So if it said she likes running, to swim, and biking, that would be incorrect.
You've got it.
Awesome.
Now, here's what you don't need to worry about.
Oh, that's good news.
Don't worry about spelling. The SAT doesn't test spelling except for homophones.
That's a relief.
Indeed. Also, don't stress about capitalization. Unless there's a glaring mistake, you can assume words are capitalized properly.
Good to know. Less to worry about.
Exactly. Focus your energy on the areas that matter most.
This has been super helpful. I feel more confident already.
That's what we're here for. Remember, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
Keep studying.
But before we wrap up, can we dive a bit deeper into punctuation?
Sure thing. What did you have in mind?
Well, I've always been confused about when to use a colon versus a semicolon.
Great question. A colon is used to introduce a list, a quote, or to expand on something previously mentioned. For example, she bought 3 items, apples, oranges, and bananas.
Got it. And a semicolon?
A semicolon connects two closely related independent clauses.
Like?
I wanted to go for a walk. It was raining outside.
So both parts could stand alone as sentences?
Exactly. The semicolon shows their connected ideas.
That makes sense. Thanks.
No problem. Now, let's talk about pronoun agreement.
Ah, those can be tricky.
Indeed. A pronoun must agree in number and gender with the noun it replaces.
So if we're talking about a singular noun, we use a singular pronoun?
Exactly. For example, the student forgot his book, assuming the student is male.
What if the gender is unknown?
The SAT often prefers his or her in that case. Like the student forgot his or her book.
Good to know.
Definitely. Let's touch on subject-verb agreement.
Right. The subject and verb must agree in number.
Exactly. The dogs run versus the dog runs.
Simple enough.
But watch out for tricky sentences where the subject comes after the verb.
Like there is a lot of problems?
Exactly. It should be there are a lot of problems because problems is plural.
Gotcha. Tricky indeed.
Also, collective nouns like team or group are singular.
So we'd say the team is winning, not the team are winning.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Let's discuss redundancy next.
Redundancy. Like saying the same thing twice?
Exactly. The SAT wants concise sentences. For example, he returned back home. The word back is redundant.
Oh, I see.
So we should just say he returned home.
Makes sense. Less is more.
Exactly. Now, let's touch on idioms.
Idioms? Like expressions?
Yes, but on the SAT, it's about correct prepositional usage.
Can you give an example?
Sure. She is interested in music, not interested on music.
Ah, gotcha.
Common prepositions matter.
So we need to memorize these idiomatic expressions?
Yes, especially the most common ones.
Will do. Any other tips?
Yes, let's talk about diction errors.
Diction as in word choice.
Exactly. Using words that sound similar but have different meanings.
Like effect and effect?
Precisely.
Tricky ones.
So ensure you're using the correct word in context.
We'll keep that in mind.
Finally, let's discuss transitions.
Transition words like however, therefore, and moreover.
Exactly.
They connect ideas.
Right. The Saturday may test if the transition word appropriately connects two sentences.
So we need to understand the relationship between ideas?
Exactly. Whether it's contrast, addition, cause and effect, and so on.
Makes sense.
Great. I think we've covered a lot today.
Absolutely. This has been incredibly helpful.
Remember, mastering grammar and punctuation is all about practice.
I'll keep practicing. Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome.
See you next time.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Mastering SAT Grammar. Keep studying, and good luck on your SAT journey.